It's Monday, not Sunday, October the 21st. Hello, Inside Scoopers. Welcome to the special edition announcement. I'm Rodney Habib. Joining me, as always, my incredible co-host, the most followed veterinarian in the world, #1 New York Times bestselling author, Arizonian with great hair, the one, the only, Dr. Karen Becker.
Gosh, Inside Scoopers, it's actually Tuesday, October 21st, not
Monday?
even a Monday. And you may be
Can we do it
saying,
again?
why are y'all going live on a Tuesday? It is out of character for us, but today is the day because Rodney finally, Proactive
I know what it
Paws
says. Woo-hoo. I feel like she already knows.
is here. Woohoo! B said we needed the extra day. We did need the extra day, B. My computer, we set this time and then literally I sat down and it said, your computer needs to be restarted. So thank you all for hanging with me through that tech challenge that I regularly have. I did restart my computer and thank you all for joining me for this very special announcement. I am so fired up that I just wanted my Inside Scoop community to be the first to know what's going on.
Absolutely. And it's always Inside Scoopers, as you guys have been from day one with us on the journey. Any type of sort of global movement that or whatever type of global movement that we've secretly been putting together, we've always been able to share with our community, whether it's been the books, the Forever Dogs. This is a massive project that you, Dr. Karen Becker, have been talking about for a long time. For those that maybe don't know the quick backstory behind this, there was a huge gap in the market after a couple years ago. You made has it been over a year now since you made your announcement that
So there's a huge gap in the marketplace, Rodney, but not just because I'm not formulating for a variety of different companies anymore. There's a huge gap in the marketplace because my colleagues in the last 20 years, my colleagues have made some great products. When I first started formulating, I first started formulating in 2001. The whole reason I started formulating Inside Scoopers was because there wasn't just a gap in the marketplace. There were no human grade, correctly calibrated nutraceuticals, herbs, probiotics in the market for pets. I was taking human strains and trying to piecemeal together what was appropriate for dogs and cats. But Rodney, since that time, there have been some amazing products on the market. In the last 20 years, our proactive wellness little category, our colleagues and friends have made some amazing products. But yet still, to your point, I decided to create Proactive Paws because there's this hole in the marketplace for specific products that I still can't find. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's the truth. I still couldn't find the specific products I'm looking for.
And here's what's exciting. Today will be an announcement of your first new baby that's going to be birthed into the world. Proactive Paws, maybe for those that are listening right now, maybe they don't even know any type of history of Proactive Paws. First of all, this beautiful glowing orb that you designed that's beside you. That's also, hold on, let's get it on your t-shirt there. Look at your pretty kick-ass t-shirt.
I bought, isn't it beautiful? Oh, and Inside Scoopers, my logo. So thanks for asking about the logo. Just really briefly, I sent you 2 photos last night, like in the middle of the night. Did you happen to get them? Okay, let me tell you the story of this beautiful mandala. I knew when I started a supplement company myself, I knew I wanted a shimmery gold mandala because when you look at mandalas, they're beautiful because it's sacred geometry, but I wanted it to be kind of dog centric. So I was thinking, and I want it to be shimmery gold because I wanted the logo to reflect back light. And so in my brain, I'm like, I really want like a beautiful geometric shape. And Inside Scoopers, I don't know if you know what an aura frame is, but 6 months ago when I was thinking about my logo, this photo, Rodney, will you show Reg? This photo popped up on my aura frame. And it was like 10 years ago, I was doing a phone consult with one of my clients. Can you see my flip phone? I had just gotten done.
I still have that, by the way, as a prop.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so that flip phone is not a prop. I was doing a consult with one of my clients, and her dog was so sick with IBD and IBS, and she had this horrible bacterial overgrowth. And I knew I was just holding it together to get off the phone, and then I was going to start crying. And don't you know, Mr. Reg jumped up and laid right here, and I snapped this photo with my camera, my flip phone sitting there. I got off the phone and he knew I was going to cry because I looked at him and I said, I can't help this dog, Reg. And you can see in his eyes, he was like, what's wrong, Miss Karen? I said, Reg, this dog needs a product that I don't have. This dog had bacterial overgrowth, and every single time that its owner used metronidazole, the bacterial overgrowth got worse. And so I just felt so helpless. I had to hold it together till I was done with the consult. And then I just started crying and he looked at me. So 6 months ago, I'm thinking about my logo and Reggie's photo popped up. And I instantly looked at him and said, Reg, I got a product. Well, you know, when you see photos and you go back to that time space reality, I looked at him and I'm like, oh my gosh, I still remember I was crying and he was soothing me because I didn't have what I needed. That photo popped up. And I said, Reg, I made the product that I needed then. We did it. And don't you know, Rodney, the next photo, can you just show the next photo? So the next photo, guys, I had to put Reggie to sleep. And we did one of those ink foot stamps. And so that's Reggie's paw. So back to back, I had Reggie looking at me. I'm like, we made the product that could fix that dog. And then his little paw came up and then my logo came to me. That was a really long story. So I said to Rodney, hey, listen, can you custom design me a mandala with Reggie's paw? Because I don't want to use a generic ice stack mandala. I want his paw to be at the center of my logo. So thanks for asking. It's a gold paw mandala that you made me with Reggie's paw. So it's a beautiful logo and it reflects light back and it's everything that I wanted. So that's the backstory on the logo, and it's meaningful to me and it's gold and shimmery. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's definitely my boy. So it's an
Yeah.
incredible, sorry,
Yep.
it is there's been many of us, thousands and thousands of people globally that have been sort of waiting, that were people that were on a lot of the products that you had formulated that were really important to a lot of people. And they've been very instrumental in, a lot. I'm sure the comment section in itself will explode with people that have been able to reverse, halt, or treat diseases with just the sort of the brilliant formulations that you've been able to put over. I was your biggest fan because before I even knew you, I was searching out for your products. I knew the studies, I knew the research. It was almost impossible to try to find these sort of combinations that you put together. And now here it is, years later, Proactive Paws has come to life. And you came out with your very first product. And so I think we should talk about why you felt the need to start this one, because this one is near and dear to my heart. Because if you go through every Inside Scoop episode, over 300 published episodes, maybe we're into the 400 range, each week, like, I could almost find one reference to the theme around this product, the research, the studies that we keep talking about. Let's talk about that.
Well, everyone knows that gut health drives not just digestion, and digestive issues are some of the biggest problems that we see in veterinary medicine, hands down, or gut stuff. And inside scoopers know that like 90%, between 70 and 90% of an animal's immunity lays in their gut, and having a resilient, strong gut, Rodney, is super important. And in turn, longevity is based around how healthy that immune system is. So there's this correlation of healthy gut, healthy healthy balanced immune system, but also healthy balanced behavior. And then in turn, what we want is not just improved quality of life, we want improved quantity. So it's all tied together. And one of the recurring things that you hear us say all the time, Inside Scoopers, is dogs' microbiomes are completely under attack. So it's between the intermittent antibiotic use, lawn chemicals, flea and tick pesticides. Our dogs, even if you're doing an all green home, their microbiomes can be damaged. In fact, Rodney, I was thinking last night how much I wanted this product for Homer. Inside Scoopers, you remember 2 months ago, Homer, my 18-year-old dog, had a stroke. He's doing really well, minus he's a little slower now, but we have a whole protocol on what I did to get Homer back from his stroke. But guys, one of the things that I did that I mentioned during the Facebook Live, but I wish I had, Rodney, when Homer was stroked out, he spent 12 hours laid on the floor with his legs out. He slipped overnight, his legs went out, and he laid spread eagle for 12 hours. And you couldn't even touch him. He was so painful. And no amount of natural things were going to fix him. I had to give him an NSAID in the morning to just help his incredible pain. But the second that I gave him his non-steroidal anti-inflammatory med, because he was so painful from laying in this excruciating position, my first thought was, I don't have damage control. Because, Rodney, what I was looking for is damage control that has species-specific strains to put back into a dog's body, the dog strain that I was looking for. I also just use an NSAID, and I know that those NSAIDs are going to temporarily cause some dysbiosis in his gut. I needed a product to put back in, and I love so many of the products on the market, but they weren't specific for this situation. And I know that you have also, you said to me, please don't include enzymes and prebiotics in your probiotic formula. So I didn't do that. And I just made a species specific probiotic with no other bells and whistles. And there's a bunch of reasons why I did that. But why is it that you don't like prebiotics in your probiotics?
That's a really good question. And that's when as science starts to progress and move forward and we learn more about microbiology, especially pertaining to the microbiome and let's say fecal microbiome transplants that are now like this new life-saving tool in many veterinarians' toolbox, you can start to get into a lot of issues with these all-in-one type of products that are on the market. As an example, there are some companies that, as you'd mentioned, enzymes. Let's just go to digestive enzymes quickly before we jump into prebiotics. Companies mixing digestive enzymes with probiotics. Sounds fantastic if you get, let's say, a biome report that says you need to go on digestive enzymes. However, because there's a probiotic component that's blended in with it, it becomes an issue to use when you are, like, let's say, going on a fecal microbiome transplant, or vice versa. If you have a product, a probiotic product that you need, that it's required, and then there's a prebiotic in there, or like a whole bunch of larch, and let's say you have an animal with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, as one small example, that poses another problem, right? So a lot of these products, you kind of wish, hey, could I just get this as, if I'm looking for product A, can you not just put A, B, C, and D in there, trying to give me the whole gamut, because I'm not getting enough of one to compensate for the issue I need, right? And we've talked about this with many examples. But in terms of like probiotics, when people start mixing and matching, bringing in other components, it lessens the amount of CFUs, strains, different types of species, and so on and so forth that you can get in a good probiotic.
Well, and for me, because small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is such a big, massive issue in veterinary medicine, there are instances where absolutely I want to specifically provide inulin or FOS or a prebiotic supplement, but there are sometimes that I don't. So when you do want to provide a prebiotic and you don't have any bacterial, dysbiotic guts, great. But there are times that you don't. And so this product is just strictly species specific strains with soil strains, S. boulardii, and then a GABA strain. I'll get to that in a minute. But one of the things that was also important to me, Rodney, is you can get great quality supplements now. This particular product, GMP facility, NSF facility, made in the US, biodynamics and organic certified. So every raw material that is possibly capable of coming in an organic fashion will be there. Of course, it's third-party tested, safety tested, all the things that are important to me to create a good quality product. But I also didn't want to use a prebiotic supplement, and I also didn't want to use enzymes. And I think all dogs need enzymes, but dogs that have ulcers can't have them. So there are dogs that have GI ulcers that need a probiotic, but they can't use blended products.
Let me just add one thing to that. Sorry, and I didn't want to cut you off there. And one thing that I did forget to mention, the other reason why you can't put, like, let's just say inulin is a great example. Sometimes when you get a biome report back that you've done with a company, you might have too much inulin in your diet already, and now you have strains that are just going bonkers. Like they are now exceeded into specific ranges. So here you are looking for a good probiotic, but then this prebiotic that's in that product is actually causing a problem for your pet's microbiome. So how do you separate the two, right? So this is
Right.
another issue
Right.
that a lot of pet parents were having with all-in-ones.
For sure. In fact, Carly, hi, Carly. Thanks for joining my probiotic party. Carly says, for SIBO, we need
Yeah.
more options with soil-based probiotics. Hear you, girl. Did that, as well as enzymes. And enzymes are the next product that will be in my pipeline there. I hopefully in a month. But there are times when, as we mentioned, when you want to use those together and times when you don't want to use them together. So the other thing, Rodney, so let's just back up and maybe, do you want to show that, guys, I
Do you want to
made
show
this
the
bottle. Of
label
course it's in
first, or
glass
do you
because I
want to
want
show
you
the? Do you
to,
want to show the final product last? Do you want to go right to the? Do you want to go to the ingredients first, or do you
I
want to go to the?
No, I think we should show the product
Okay.
because first of all, you guys know that I'm an environmentalist. I want a recyclable glass bottle, but I also wanted to make the bottle so beautiful that you like keep it and that you put safety pins or buttons or rocks or that you would that I wanted to make the bottle so lovely that you didn't just throw it out or
I
even
reuse
recycle it, that
them.
you upcycle it around the
I
house with
reuse
other
them for
things. Okay.
so many things. Remember, you were taking pictures
Well,
of.
and yes,
All
I
right.
think that this bottle, when you go to reuse it, should be a beautiful addition to whatever you're going to upcycle in your
Okay,
home.
you say when.
It's a really lovely bottle. Let's see it.
Ta-da!
Yay! Yay! So the Proactive Paws logo is shimmery gold. There's actually a beautiful Mandela sticker on the top that's shimmery gold. It's lovely. And I named this particular product Primitive Probiotics because, and the tagline is give your dog the microbiome they were born to have, because that's ultimately my goal. It's not if there's microbiome insults to dogs, Rodney, it's when. Like Homer's situation is a perfect thing. He's not on a probiotic all the time, but I gave him an NSAID and he needed a probiotic. And so this is a beautiful gift. If you have lawn companies that are coming around your HOA and you don't have any choice, if your animal needs 30 days of antibiotics because they're positive for Lyme disease and you got to do it, if you just had a dental and you have a filthy, rotten mouth and you want to do you have to do antibiotics to fix their body. I needed something on the market to just do some damage control. But at the same time, Rodney, I was so excited about a novel strain of probiotics that I added. Almost always what I'm seeing is that whether it's allergies, or in Homie's situation where he needed an NSAID, along with the need for a probiotic, is also the need to help control the stress and anxiety around a disease state requiring a dysbiotic gut. And the fact that animals need a probiotic, they also probably could benefit from some decreasing sympathetic windup and increasing some parasympathetic calm. So the first, Rodney, is actually this brand new patented LP815 strain, which is a GABA probiotic. So this is the overall lineup. There's a bunch of dog strains. There's some SBO soil strains or environmental strains with Saccharomyces boulardii, and then there's some ancestral strains. And that's really all that's in there. We've got species-specific strains, environmental strains, and SBOs, and then this GABA strain. And Rodney, the cool thing about the GABA strain is that I want to say 2 months ago, a brand new research paper came out. Inside Scoopers, I'm going to read to you the results. They trialed this LP815, this specific strain of probiotic, on dogs that had fear, aggression, sound-based aggression, and anxiety. And do you know, after 4 weeks, this particular strain, there was a reduction in fear and noise-based aggression. There was more restful and consistent sleep. There was improved mood and reduced reactivity. There was better emotional balance, and there's faster settling after owner departure. That's the fancy word, Rodney, for separation anxiety. And that is exactly Homer's situation, where he needed a probiotic because he had, pain, but he also was in this state of anxiety and windup. It's exactly why I put this GABA strain in, is that most animals requiring probiotics also have a component of incredible stress, anxiety, and their guts need all of the calming, gut brain connection that they can get. So
Just
I
yeah,
included
and right before, just I
that.
was so excited. We jumped right into the strains, but you do have people. Shadon says congratulations and thank you so much for the glass bottle. Shelly says I save glass bottles. Can I also tell
Uh,
you? I know the strains are very important, but would you believe the glass is very important to people like myself, to a lot of us who are conscious and health conscious about microplastics. You can only get so much and you can only do so much. But, when we see a lot, when you hear that the average human is consuming a credit card a week in terms of plastic, in microplastics, you can only imagine what pets are consuming as well. So, to be able to at least lessen that load. So, you're turning around, you're trying to do one thing, but you're taking a little bit of poison with a little bit of the antidote, if you may. So
yeah.
it is very, very exciting that the product was in glass. A lot of us are those that are like hardcore into trying to avoid those environmental toxins. That's already an
Yeah.
incredible step in the right direction. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but I saw all the comments coming in on the, on how awesome the glass is, because there's just so much plastic today that these
There
microplastic and these
is.
forever chemicals are a really big problem.
It is. It's a huge problem. And actually, Rodney, the carrier. So oftentimes inside scoopers, these probiotic strains have to be in some type of carrier. And that's why most companies are using FOS or inulin, because the prebiotic fiber is what is a great carrier if you want a prebiotic fiber. I didn't want to add a prebiotic into this product. I wanted it to be strictly probiotic. But I did use, Rodney, organic pumpkin fiber. And the reason I chose organic pumpkin fiber is because fiber is such a beautiful food-based bowel balancer. It's not, because it's food, it's not a prebiotic supplement. It does have prebiotic benefits, but it's a whole food. So you're never going to get crazy small intestinal bacterial overgrowth from giving pumpkin fiber. And I did make it organic. Rodney, I don't know if you know this. Pumpkin is a contaminated veggie, and a lot of people don't know that people don't realize that the chemical load coming out of pumpkins, edible pumpkins, is pretty darn high. So I did pick organic pumpkin fiber as the carrier for my probiotic because I didn't organic is important. Some veggies are you can get by without using organic. Pumpkin is one of them that I think is pretty important that it is organic.
Yeah, I was telling you yesterday, I was reading several articles based upon this. Here's an article showing the Environmental Working Group puts pumpkins and winter squash on the list of crops with a high pesticide residue score. The data they're linking is referring to pumpkins and squash grown for human consumptions, not jack-o'-lanterns, and so on and so forth. But I had no idea the contamination that was in pumpkin.
Yeah.
Pumpkin is a staple. It's interesting because this Sunday that just passed, Dr. Steve Marsden and I were talking about some home remedies, and pumpkin came up. And pumpkin is a staple in a lot of people's foods, but there's always that misconception that pumpkin walls are so thick that they can't bring on any pesticides. Researchers and science are showing that those pesticides are actually built into the walls, into the flesh of the pumpkin, so you actually can't wash them out. So imagine, if you have a known genotoxin in a pesticide there, no one would incorporate, okay, well, I'm adding pumpkin for flavoring, let's just say, or for some reason into my product, and I want the
It's a
benefits
bowel
of pumpkin,
balancer,
right?
right?
But
Yeah.
that product also carries a genotoxin with it that's damaging genes on a specific level. So again, I sound like you're a glazer here, glazing it, but I mean, the fact that it's an organic pumpkin that's being added in there, that's one, in terms of, like, let's say glyphosate, that is one less genotoxin that you have to worry about. So if you're working hard to repair the microbiome, you're not destroying the microbiome
Right.
with pesticides in the pumpkin.
Exactly. Above all, do no harm with all of the other things that are in your product. That's a really important thing. And nor kitties have a totally different species specific
Thank you for
microbiome,
saying that.
and the kitty probiotic is in the works. That's one of the other thing I have seen with mass-produced
All-in-ones.
pet probiotics, which you can buy at, on Amazon, or not to say you can buy great things on Amazon, but if you're going to Walmart or to big box stores and finding a probiotic, yes, it's in plastic, but it's also those are basically human strains. You go to one house for nutraceuticals, you dump a bunch of strains in there that aren't necessarily specific to the animal, and they may do some benefit, but oftentimes, Rodney, what happens is because the strains are not customized to the gut biome of who the host is, they don't stay. So there's this temporary benefit, and then there's not this long-term success that you're looking for because those strains are not, human strains are not necessarily adapted to the canine GI tract. So kitties will get their own kitty specific strains, nor, and that's coming. But along with canine specific strains, I did include soil strains, Rodney, and it was really important to me because soy SBOs, we call them, kind of the slang term. Environmental strains are super important because those are the strains that make it through antibiotic use, strong stomach acid. So if you've got animals that have had diarrhea secondary to medications, diarrhea secondary to taking antibiotics, NSAIDs, prednisone, you've got to be you have to have strains on board that can make it through the ongoing use of medications that disrupt the microbiome, and SBOs do that. So two really good SBOs in there that have proven benefits in the canine gut to help hold ground and basically hold space as that insult is continuing to come in through environmental options, that you've got something on board for a dog to hold space to keep that microbiome in check.
Well, this is what I'm really excited about. Again, going back to the research like Dr. Anna Hjelm Bjorgman and the benefits that those scientists in Finland are showing pertaining to soil and soil-based probiotics. I know in our talks that we do globally around the world, we always talk about forest bathing, Shinrin Yoku, the benefits to getting outside and coming in contact with soil, the benefits for puppies who consume their food in soil, who grow up with less allergies, who have a better immune system. Children in Finnish studies where they take playgrounds and they replace concrete for forests, small bushes, grasses, and trees, and those children have better immune systems. The amount of benefit right now that's coming in the way of soil and soil-based probiotics, it's awesome that you're not just seeing a whole bunch of just generic human strains in a jar, but now you're incorporating another form, another entity of bacteria, which would come in the way of soil for so many reasons. But it's pretty, the brand new paper just published just by the AVMA talking about the benefits of soil and what it's doing for our immune system and pertaining to longevity and health.
Yeah, and it's very, very important. And they're, again, hard to find in a dog specific probiotic, really hard, actually impossible. It's one of those things that I was trying to piece together, a canine strain and SBO and Saccharomyces boulardii, Rodney. Now, that is, I know you're in love with Saccharomyces boulardii. I included that because, first of all, just the research, there's avalanche of research demonstrating benefits in dogs, avalanche. But so many dogs have secondary yeast infections. And that S. boulardii, whether you're trying to decrease inflammation in the gut or if you've got antibiotic use going on, it's also one of those strains that can work if you've got concurrent antibiotic use. But it does such a good job of preventing yeast infections in animals that have got to be on an antibiotic. Oh, thank you for showing some studies. I love it.
There is so much research pertaining to S. boulardii and dogs. It's almost unlimited. These are the two papers, Inside Scoopers, that we've already showed you. We've kind of talked about these before. This is a double-blinded, placebo-controlled study published in Vet Record, talking about the effects of Saccharomyces boulardii with chronic enteropathies, basically GI problems in dogs, and the benefits within 10 days of S. boulardii. The other one on the other side shows the supplementation of nutritional status of the fecal microbiota and the microbiota in breeding adult dogs. So those dogs that were pregnant moms, puppies that were teed up with life with S. boulardii. The reason also, Karen, why S. boulardii is so fantastic, when you talk to microbiologists, when we got to sit down with arguably, one of the top dog and cat microbiologists in the United States of America, Dr. Holly Gantz, they became such huge fans of S. boulardii, not only because of what it can do for the immune system. One, there's multiple published studies on how it ramps up the immune system. It primes a strong immune system. But then the second thing is what it does for the skin microbiome and what it also does for stool. So if you do have an animal with loose stool, we have multiple studies that show that it can help just with the loose stool segment. But then the other thing is what it does for the skin microbiome. So there's a reduction in itching and scratching with dogs when you bring in S. boulardii into the mix. Oh, and by the way, when you have a microbiome full of virus, oftentimes the Clostridium families and so on and so forth that overpopulate in the microbiome, guess who comes to the rescue and wipes all that out? S. boulardii.
Well, Clostridium is not a virus, but when you have enteric
Viruses and
viruses and when
bacteria.
you have,
And bacteria.
yes, bacteria, yeah. And
E.
so that's
coli,
so
C.
true, Rodney.
diff. Yeah.
If you have this overgrowth of E. coli, if you have an overgrowth of Clostridium, S. boulardii can be life-saving, literally, especially if your veterinarian is having to use drugs to help knock down that infection. S. boulardii can come in and there again hold space and stabilize the gut microbiome. And believe it or not, Ruddy, that's also one of the reasons that I was adamant about using species-specific strains for dogs. That when you replenish native domestic dog flora with native domestic dog flora, it reinforces the gut barrier. It promotes the beneficial growth of good bacteria. It suppresses dysbiotic bacteria, and it creates these immune modulating postbiotics, which are really important. The ancestral strains that I included, an amazing study demonstrating, and this kind of makes sense, that ancestral strains, meaning wolf-based strains, true Canis lupus, that Canis lupus strains fed to Canis lupus familiaris. So wolf strains fed to domestic dogs. An amazing paper demonstrating that what it does is build gut resilience, Rodney. And that also makes sense that if you think about wild dogs, those, when they would eat whatever in the wild, they have high bacterial loads. Those wild animals cannot have blowout diarrhea from a diet change. They have ongoing stress. Their microbiome is adapted for gut resilience. And so I did include two Canis lupus strains that are specifically demonstrated to stabilize the microbiome of domestic dogs, especially beneficial for stressful situations, boarding, kennel, travel, divorces, something going on, but also diet change. So when you're switching diets, you think about wild animals, they're eating something, whatever they can catch, they're eating something different every day. Their microbiomes have to be able to handle this really diversified dietary intake. So the other thing that's
can I
beautiful.
also say how awesome it is that we get to see the genus, the species, and the strain. Not very many, not very many companies over the years. I know when we've been filming multiple like videos and blogs that are revealed. So here inside Scoopers, you're seeing when somebody says like Lactobacillus acidophilus, you're getting the genus and the species, but then it's the strain where usually the research is held. It's kind of vague when a company just comes in and shows you the genus and the species without revealing the strain. I know that, Karen, this is where there's always been like a lot of argument. So,
Yeah.
so when it comes to a lot of these strains that are in there, it's important for some of us that are science junkies to be like, well, if I want to do a little bit of research on it, how do I know what strain I'm looking for? So just a quick heads up.
Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I mean, along that vein, Inside Scoopers, you will be able to, if you go to proactivepaws.com, you will be able to read and you'll have an in-depth look at what each of these strains do specifically, as well as the research behind them. So that's a really important point, Rodney, that understanding why each one is important for you as mom or dad to be able to recognize, is this a product that would be beneficial for my animal? In what situations would I need a probiotic? In what situations would certain strains be more efficacious than others? Those are important things to know. Not all the probiotics are created equal. And along that kind of vein, I just got word, and the whole reason that we're doing this announcement, Rodney, on a Tuesday is that my first order of probiotics has just cleared the quality control steps, which is they do, third-party contaminant testing, they do viability, potency, check for heavy metals, all those third-party tests that I tell you guys we have to do, and we did. But the product just cleared all that, and now it's going to the warehouse. So the reason we're doing this Facebook Live right now, Rodney, is Inside Scoopers, we have always given you first glance, but also first spots in us telling you what's going on in our lives, what our passion projects are, and why we're doing what we're doing and how. So when I got word that my product cleared third-party testing and is headed for the warehouse, I said I want to do something special for Inside Scoopers. So this morning I turned on the website and there's an automatic 10% off. Oh, look at Precious Homie. Precious Homie's on the top of the website. It's already listed as 10% off, but I wanted to give you guys. So Ashley Vogel asked, there's no purines, Ashley. There's no purines in the product whatsoever. So totally fine for if you have a Dalmatian or you have an animal with a liver shunt, it's absolutely safe. That's a great question. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity because this product is headed to the warehouse. I wanted to give you an opportunity to pre-order. And Rodney, thank you. You made a cute little coupon. I wanted to give a special discount for my beautiful Inside Scoopers, an additional 10% off. So it's 20% off your order if you wanted to pre-order. Shipping will start November 3rd. It's being transported to the warehouse. And then once it's there, we will be able to begin shipping it out. But I wanted to give you all, if you wanted to try my probiotic, if you've got a resilient gut of dog and you don't use one, but you know of a dog and you wanted to get it for 20% off, now is your time. And the code is Scooper10. And so you go to Proactive Paws, put product in your basket, put that code in, and it will be pre-ordered. I'm so excited.
Finally, after all, it feels like I don't know how long. This is very exciting for the 10 of zillions of people that DM me on a basis. And I always say, I mean, I got nothing to do with it. You got to contact Karen. How many people reach out and say, when is it coming? When is it coming? When is it coming? You finally made it.
Yeah.
And Inside Scoopers, as always, you're the first community that the Good Doctor shares anything with. So this is for you guys. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is for you guys. And my mission is to provide products that other people aren't. My goal is not to compete with my beautiful colleagues. My goal is to fill the marketplace with products that I need myself, and that if I need them, you guys probably do too. And that's what I've done. And this was a great first product to release because it's not currently out there. And the same will be true of all of my products. They're unique, so that there's no competition with other beautiful products on the market. I'm so excited about the good that this product will do, Rodney, because there's so much gut stuff going on that I'm just fired up that I have an offering, a contribution to my community to provide another solution. We can never have too many tools in our tool belt. And this is just another tool, Inside Scoopers, for you to utilize or to reach for when and if you need it.
Can I actually just quick
so
on,
I just
on
wanted
one screen here before I end your party? I wanted to know. So can you tell me a little bit about the canine ancestral blend of the wolf strain? So this one is because when people see this, what was the reason? I know you touched on it quickly earlier, but just so that somebody sees it, why is it there?
Yeah. So the ancestral wolf strains have been demonstrated in dog model studies. So when you give ancestral strains to domestic dogs that have no more wolf in them whatsoever, other than they're genetically related from a long time ago, those strains build gut resilience, Rodney. And the research shows that three good things happen when you provide canine strains to canines. Specifically, the strains that I included, there's a greater microbiome stability for stress and dietary changes. There's a marked reduction in the amount of harmful potential microbes. And that's the piece, Rodney, that was so important for the Reggie experience. When I was doing my phone consult 10 years ago, when I flashed that photo of Reggie, that client had a dog with raging IBD, and this dog needed this product with these ancestral strains because these are the strains that outcompete potentially pathogenic bacteria. And this dog needed it. In fact, the research study that was done on these particular strains that I'm using found lower levels of a group of bacteria called Tizarella. And Tizarella has been linked, Rodney, in research to IBS and IBD in dogs. And so by helping to reduce the amounts of potentially pathogenic bacteria that just raise hell in the gut, by reducing pro-inflammatory bacteria, we're able to provide animals that are suffering from IBS and IBD, give them a little bit more stability in their gut using these resilient species that are of canine origin. So that's why I included it in the product.
It's also Tazarella colon cancer as well, a predominant bacteria that builds up in the colon.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know that.
It's I got that from Animal Biome back in the day. Can I also say one last thing here too that I do love? I don't know if you saw this, Dr. William Lee on Diary of a CEO talking about Lactobacillus reuteri that you have, the PCR7. That is a bacteria right now that scientists are in love with. One for so many reasons, but one of the reasons it's for inflammation, and secondly, in humans, research shows that it can actually prevent cavities and gum disease in mammalian species. But the only way that to get it to work, it has to be a chewable. So a lot of people that take the oral probiotic, it bypasses the mouth. But because this is a powder, it comes in contact immediately within the mouth, and now it can help with gum disease. There's just another extra piece of science.
Nice.
Shout out to Dr. William Lee,
That's
the food
cool.
scientist that brought that up yesterday. I just watched that.
Shout out to Dr. William Lee. I did not see that, but it does improve oral microbiome, yes, which is beautiful. I mean, there's all sorts of I think there's a lot of benefits that actually, we don't have those research studies in dogs, but we do know that that strain is incredibly beneficial for balancing oral microbiome issues. And it is nice because as dogs are eating it, they are inoculating their mouth with good beneficial bacteria that decrease the opportunistic ones, which is wonderful all the way around. I just want to say, Inside Scoopers, that I love all the love. I saw some of you send me hearts and stars and stickers. So thank you for those stars. This is a really beautiful day in my life. Yeah, I'm excited.
Can I also say one
so
last thing?
ProactivePaws.com.
Just because I'm so science crazy and you're going to kill me because you keep trying to tune out and I keep bringing in more science. If you are new to the Inside Scoop and you have not seen this is really important. Multiple studies, and just another one that we shared that was done here by the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association. If you're ever given a round of antibiotics and you're wondering when is the time to bring in a probiotics, it's right now.
Ooh.
So the combination of a probiotic with an antibiotic, the probiotic protects some of those delicate, sensitive communities of bacteria that you have.
Yeah.
So research is saying give it at the same time because you'll prevent any further damage from the microbiome. Because I know some people like, I'll just do my round of antibiotics first and then I'll go buy a probiotic. No. You want to get
Thanks for bringing that up, Rodney.
You want to get it right when you start to protect that microbiome community. Sorry, I got to.
That is true. Science. No, actually, thanks, Rodney. That's actually true. If your pet is going under anesthesia, getting a bunch of stuff, if you know that the long chemical, you live in an apartment and they're coming every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month, the time to start gut support, repair, defense is that Monday, right? You're gonna get GI support on board before the insult occurs, if at all possible. Then you do ongoing GI support at the same time as the insult is happening, surgery, NSAIDs, pred, whatever life deals us. And then you continue on with that probiotic after to be able to help the gut recover from whatever trauma has been presented. So yeah. It's the very best way to not have perpetual ongoing gut damage or microbiome destruction over time is, if we're going to do something to potentially disrupt the microbiome, we should automatically be providing the raw materials for microbiome support and restoration simultaneously. And so thanks for bringing that up. That's important. All right. So Inside Scoopers, that's my big announcement on a wonky time on a Tuesday, because that's when we just cleared third-party testing. Website is proactivepaws.com. The code is Scooper10. And I just wanted, before you start seeing it out and about, I wanted to give my beautiful community the option to get a discount because I love you. And I want to say thank you. Your support, I'm not going to cry, Rodney, but Inside Scoopers, this last year has been hard for me. And I just want to say that the number of people that repeatedly offer words of encouragement, support, have people that have just lifted me up this last year have been amazing. And I am just so thankful for this supportive, beautiful community that I'm in, that you are all there behind me, cheering me on and standing by me and helping me create the products that you all need. I appreciate your participation in our growing community, growing our knowledge base, but also being able to provide the very best tools we need to give our animals the lives that they want and deserve. So you being here with me is why I am doing what I'm doing. So thanks.
I love it. Congratulations. Excited
Thanks,
for the
Rodney.
future and the future line of future products and the probiotics. Inside Scoopers. This next Sunday, I would say next time, same channel, different time. See you on Sunday.
See you Sunday.
So long, everybody.
Regular time.
Yay.
Thanks, guys.